There is no one size fits all or a simple fix when it comes to your well-being. Hi, my name's Josephine, founder of Positivity Center and Wellbeing Consultant, and a person figuring out how to be my best. So join me in conversation with friends, sharing what works for them, and then listen to what works for others so you can create something that will work for you. Welcome to the show today. I am your host, Josephine Tite, and I am joined here by my good friend, Adam Joyce. Hello and welcome, Adam.
Hello, Josephine.
So good to see you.
Great to see you too.
Yeah.
You look wonderful.
I like the stash. It's new.
You like that? Yeah. I've been just playing around with facial hair, bored, not getting out. Got to do something.
All right. So what I always love to do is actually get my guests to introduce themselves, believe it or not. Who's Adam? How would you introduce yourselves to the listeners?
Well, that's you have me think about it from a ton of perspectives, right? I mean, there's Adam the father, there's Adam the husband, there's Adam the athlete, there's Adam the curious traveler, there's Adam the philosopher, and then there's the professional Adam. Who does your audience want to meet? I mean, they're going to meet them all.
Well,
right?
I think they all interconnect, right? So I guess you get to decide which one, I guess, makes more sense for the well-being sort of premise of a conversation around well-being.
Well, in well-being, I think it's all.
Yeah.
Right. Professionally, I'm now over at ATB, but I've been an entrepreneur 12 times with 12 different startups. I've done the corporate gig, done 9 of those. I've done 3 turnarounds in the not-for-profit. I've got 4 amazing adult children. I've got 1 beautiful wife. I like hiking and getting out there in nature, but I also love reading crazy books that, a lot of people want to get into. And I have all kinds of side projects going all the time, and I'm going to Jamaica soon. So, maybe that gives you a little bit of background.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about who you are with us. I think I'm really looking forward to our conversation. We started out as getting to know each other as, I guess you would call them, office roomies, kind of. We worked across.
Co-workers. Your office was right outside of my office.
So I was in one of those. How many did you say corporate gigs you've done? 12?
9.
9. Okay. 9. So I was one of the 9 corporate gigs. So we started off as office neighbors and reconnected after probably over a decade, for sure, maybe even 15 years. But your approach to life was I always found it inspiring, very unique. Kind of just would love to just stand by your door and just hear what you had to say about the day or what you were going to do or how you were raising your children, so it's just always been so inspiring. And so I always have had that curiosity, I guess you could say, around how you frame well-being in your life. And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about, what well-being does mean to you.
Yeah. You know what? I share in your curiosity as well. And there's many days I get up and think, I wonder what's going to happen today. I wonder how it's going to go today. I wonder how I'm going to do today. And, but to answer your question directly, I don't know where I picked it up along the way, but I think of it holistically. There is the physical well-being piece of it. There's the mental well-being piece of it. And I think we as a society spend a ton of time on both of those. And they're obviously super important because, you got your brain and you got your body. But I've become fascinated with some other areas that, maybe I haven't spent too much time on. And that's my emotional well-being and my connection with other human beings. That might be driven a little bit from, my children becoming adults and having to draw something out of myself. My marriage being 20 plus years and that evolving, my own lack of attention to sort of a spiritual wellness practice of any kind. I just kind of floated through that. And, so I started thinking about it multidimensionally and really have started putting time into just being mindful, I think, of all of those areas and watching them. And how do you approach it holistically? I'm still struggling with. I don't have an answer. I just know that there's a lot of plates to spin in the wellness realm, and how to get them to integrate and be holistic is, I guess, part of my challenge right now. And I spend a little bit here and a little bit there. And some days I'm good with my eating and some days I'm not. And some days I get some exercise in and feel good about myself. And sometimes I don't. And some days I meditate and, talk to my higher power. And other days I'm not sure I have one at all. And then I try to emotionally connect with friends and family and, try to bring a level of, health to that. How are my relationships? Am I being available, accessible, reasonable, connected? Or sometimes I'm not. I'm being selfish and
Well, yeah.
indulgent.
Well, I definitely, there's parts of us that need to be with people, and then we need to rejuvenate too sometimes on our own. So there's nothing wrong with being alone. That doesn't mean you don't have connections.
For sure.
Yeah. So I love what I saw when you were talking with basically 3 cogwheels, like the body, the physical health, and then that brain or that mind health, and then that heart, which was more so, I guess, for me, connecting to what you were saying is that emotional and spiritual part of you. And so maybe you can give us an example of what working on one of those cogwheels looks like for you, and then how it might even, maybe I'll ask this question after, but how it might even ripple or connect to another cogwheel. So maybe start with, what does it look like to work on one of the cogwheels? Meaning
Sure.
your body or your mind, brain, or your heart, your emotional or spiritual side.
Well, I think you bring up a good point. I think they are interconnected, and one lends itself to be more available and stronger for the other, given that it's holistic and I think it's integrated. So, I've spent time as an athlete. I held a career as a professional golfer at one time. I also love mountain biking and pickleball and being active and diving and all those things. So if my health, nutritionally, just what I put in my body, and then physically how I treat my body aren't optimized, then I find I can be emotionally fragile. I'm not emotionally as available. I'm not as spiritually conscious or even interested in it. And my relationships can suffer. My capacity to give and receive and to contribute get compromised. So for me, that's a big foundation. And then we talk about, you and I have talked about this many times. What's the stuff I'm putting in my head? Am I sitting there watching, cops and robber shows and dramas on TV? Nothing wrong with that, but is that all I do? Or do I read stuff that's more stimulating outside my view, inside my view, stuff like that? And then, faith and spirituality. What's that about? For me right now, it's an inquiry. I don't know that I have it solved, but I'm sure enjoying the process of discovering that about myself and what's available out there. And we could get into a deep philosophical hole about the whole spiritual thing, but let's just allow everyone to explore it or not. I mean,
Yeah.
There were times where I thought I was a full-on atheist, and this is it, this is all we get, here we go. When they turn out the lights, the party's over, there's nothing else. No, there's no higher power, higher order. Gravity just exists and plants just grow. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I've hence, or since started to, I heard somebody say that last night. Do you think things just really grow because they grow, or is there something else going on there? I was like, wow. And I know it's not me because I don't have a green thumb. But stuff just grows.
True. Yeah.
Right. And what's that order to chaos or chaos to order? And so, some interesting dynamics there. It's a really good, for me, a really good place to look right now. And then back full circle to, where am I investing? How am I being mindful? What health am I taking on? And I think, when I feel spiritually strong and I've spent some time inquiring there, I actually find myself motivated to eat better and physically exercise.
Look at that.
When I physically exercise and eat better, I have more capacity for love and giving and contribution, and want to connect with friends and a spiritual inquiry. So I really believe that they're all integrated, but I have limited capacity, so I can't do them all the time.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
juggling.
true. Yeah. I find I'm the same way right now, as a big physical component happening, right? Getting back into moving my body physically, and stressing my body out through those movements, really pushing it. And it's interesting what that then starts to do in my mind. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm capable. Like
Yeah,
my
it can be
body.
a confidence builder. Or
Yeah.
other days, I go to move and I'm like, oh my God, I can barely move. I'm so stiff.
That weight just beat the heck out of me, right?
Totally.
Well, we went for a hike once too, and I'm like, man, am I sore from that? But sometimes you have to push through those pains. And any trainer I've talked to, not that I'm an expert trainer, was always said when you feel that buildup of lactic acid, the best thing is to move, and gentle
Yeah.
movement, not
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
go do the same thing, but yeah, have some gentleness, have a relationship with that pain. That's
Oh, nice.
what a good concept, hey?
Yeah, I like that.
Relationship with the pain. So that's so cool. Have you found there's particular foods that you find make you feel, like you were saying, just more energetic, more willing, or enjoying connecting with others?
Yeah, this might sound like it'll sound like popular, but seriously, plant-based diets.
You
I
like,
know when I eat a lot of vegetables and I stay closer to, real and raw food, not I cook it and play with it and use it that way. I love being in the kitchen. I love that process and being connected to my food. And the more, from the ground to my table, I'm connected to it, the better I enjoy the experience of both making it as well as eating it. And then I just feel good. It's when I drift into my indulgences like potato chips and chocolate bars and sweets and salties and processed manufactured yumminess. Oh my God. It's a temporary high, but I pay for it.
okay, so that, because sometimes I hear people, to have the bar so high is sometimes difficult. And so if you do indulge in an indulgence, how do you go through that? Because you said there's a consequence, I guess, if you will, from doing that. What is the consequence? And then how do you move through that to get back to that connection with the food and the nature and the plant-based again?
I pay my toll and then I carry on. Like I can't make myself wrong for it. And I enjoy it. And different people have different indulgences. My big weaknesses are, the salty bag of potato chips, that kind of thing. And I can, demolish a bag. I love my popcorn with lots of butter and salt on it. And I can get really heavy into that. But I also love a good chocolate bar. Like yesterday, I ate 2 chocolate bars,
What kind?
and they
What
were
kind?
delicious. Arrow, and
Here-
just all
Oh,
chocolate and air, just like bam, just mowing them down. But I'd come off of a big hike, and instead of making myself wrong, I just kind of watch. Oh, okay, well, that was fun. Really enjoyed it. And then this morning, got up, made a great vegetarian breakfast. 2 poached eggs on top of it, and away I went into the day. And I felt great all day. Had a couple cups of coffee, and I've got a stir fry with some shrimp lined up for later with some raw veggies, and we'll figure out a sauce that we'll make from scratch. And and then who knows, tonight I'm out of chocolate bars, so just don't go to the store.
you could, yeah.
Just don't put the temptation right in front of me and I'll be okay. But
Yeah.
telling you, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, and yet you've got this approach to it that says, okay, I'm going to do this. If I do this, I'm going to move on from that. And I think well-being in its entirety can take a lot from that. We were talking just about food, but think about how many people have that indulgence and an indulgence, and then they take on the guilt and then the stress from that, or I'm going to gain more weight, or whatever it is that they have going through their heads, just moving on with it. So how do you do that? Do you know if you do that intentionally with the spiritual side of you, that emotional side of you, and also that brain, the mind, and what it's doing? Because they're right, if we're saying they're all connected, and just wondering if you've ever noticed that same type of approach happen in the other spaces of your well-being.
Yeah, I find I tend to play inside almost like pre-imposed. I don't know that I created them. I might have inherited them, but there are like these guidelines. And when I feel like I'm bumping up against the walls of those guidelines, like let's say I don't meditate for a week, and I just notice a little malaise in my who I'm being. oh, wow, you haven't meditated in a week. Maybe you should do that. And so then I go on like a 3 or 4 day run, and I start a run of meditation, not running.
Yeah.
And I start to, and I notice my calm starting to come back and my thoughtfulness coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then there's days where I binge on potato chips and popcorn. And all of a sudden I realize, holy doodle, you've done this like 5 days in a row. Maybe you need to give yourself a break, right? Or I start working out. Workouts I can feel in my body immediately. So that's not, that one doesn't require too much monitoring. I can also feel it when I don't. Like I feel sloth, I feel bleh.
Yeah.
And then I can, oh my God, at least let's go for a walk. And in the prayer and the higher power piece, as I said, I'm exploring it. So I'm playing inside different modalities. They're not called modalities, but different practices, like, looking at the universal phenomena, looking at the God consciousness, looking at the spirituality of, say, a Buddhism, and just looking inside those and having conversations with others that are in practice and have more expertise about how they construct it and what their practice looks like. And sometimes just talking and being with them. And I had this one person that just wanted to sit in silence for half an hour. Super cool. Super cool. And then we talked about it. And it just gave me access to something. And so just making sure I find those islands is really, really important to me.
So being mindful and aware of, how you're showing up. I could summarize it. Yeah.
Showing up for myself.
Yeah.
And paying attention to how others reflect back to me, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden I feel like I'm having friction in my relationships. Chances are it's not them. Chances.
Yeah.
Particularly if I have 2 or 3 incidents, I'm like, wait a second, what's the common element here?
Yeah.
Oops.
So true, right? It's definitely 2 people in a relationship. There's never just one. Okay. So what are some things that you love doing that impact all 3 spaces for you at the same time? Is there anything that comes to mind?
That's funny. I find we're going to Jamaica, and anytime I can get in warm waters and go snorkeling, skin diving, I find that a remarkable touch on my soul. It's physically demanding to be out there for an hour. So I feel it's a good workout, particularly if you swim into deeper waters and you're fighting currents and stuff. And I feel it's mentally stimulating because there's lots of stuff I don't see in my normal world and look at. Plus, there's a little bit of adventure, and it puts me on edge a little bit because you're not in your natural environment. You're in something else's environment, and there are things out there that I've had the fortune of swimming with sharks, and it's an interesting experience and what it does for you, mentally and heart and soul. And
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So I find that's one thing. Hiking, somewhat. We went for a hike on Sunday, and it was, spending time with my wife in that kind of environment was really good for us, because we talk about things that you normally, because you're out there for 4 hours. So you just end up talking and getting relaxed and discussing. And, sometimes we have really shallow, conversations about favorite colors and what we're going to have for dinner. And other times we have deeper conversations about our own spiritual inquiries and thoughts, and where, we're going to go next in life. And it's good for the heart. And I get filled up by the environment that we're usually in. We usually pick some pretty good places to go look around and see the world and get into a place of gratitude. And so, yeah, I think those physical things can ping on 3 or 4. But I've also had the experience where we're sitting there watching a good movie, having popcorn, and overcome with love for my wife. Like really moved by who she is for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, it's back to that mindfulness. And what am I practicing?
Yeah. And are you picking up what life's presenting you to pick up?
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's one of the inquiries for me. Am I thinking this, Or is this a spiritual, a friend put it to me this way, am I a human being having a spiritual experience, or am I a spiritual being having a human experience? The answer for me right now is both.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to be able to distinguish when my ego is doing all of the talking, my human, and there's nothing wrong with that, because man, this is a human experience, the most I've had. And then other times when I feel like, wow, that was really profound, and other people are moved by what I'm saying, I'm pretty sure that's not me talking. I think that might be something else coming through me.
Yeah, that would be a really cool conversation to have. This is the first time I've read a book that talks about quantum energy. In other words, like you're just a bunch of cells, so you are a spiritual being in this human vehicle that you have to go experience life in, which is, yeah. And then you've got that ego that's like, got to be right, got to be in charge, got to be in control. Yeah. So yeah, it is both, but it is both, right? It's like, I don't know. I don't ever want to get caught up in the conversation of the argument, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, like it's just, don't we need both? I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's for me, my existence has been an interesting dynamic. It's abstract. It's ever changing. I'm just trying to do my best.
Yeah.
I
love it. Well, I would definitely, for me, this conversation has really been about noticing that, your well-being isn't just one thing. It's a holistic combination of a bunch of different things trying to work in harmony with one another. And they can, especially when you have that lens to notice. In other words, you said being mindful. To me, that's what mindfulness is. It's just noticing. And so if you can just practice noticing, you'll take care of your well-being, and you got to get easy on yourself. You got to be a little bit loving towards yourself, because I think you can. I love how you just shared, like, I have that chocolate bar and then I move on because, right? And I think that plays a role for all aspects of well-being. So if you fall off and you stop doing something you did once before, or you don't love something you used to love, maybe you love something new. It's just an opportunity to move, grow, and change the well-being equation for yourself. So
love it. Wow. You're so wise. Have you done other interviews like this?
Well, you'll have to see them as they come out. It's been awesome. I've loved it. And this is my community that I'm creating a community for me that will hopefully create a community for others out in the world, so that we can do that. And I think we all have our own equation around well-being, and it's not a one size fits all. And that is one of the missions for this show, is to show that it is totally going to be up to you, because you're you. And you don't have to fit into some equation that somebody said in a book or you read, that these 3 things are essential. What works for you, and just be you. Just be you, man. So
love it.
So yeah. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you keep doing more of what you love too, Adam.
Thanks, Josephine. I sure loved today.
It was awesome. Thanks again.
Great to see you.
Thanks for listening to Wellbeing That Works. Before you go, take 1 minute to write down your takeaway from today's guest. And be sure to download our Wellbeing Evaluation Sheet to help you along your wellbeing journey. And if you've got something to share to inspire others, be sure to be a guest on our show. Until next time, with love and kindness.